Have you ever felt like you're running a race you didn't even sign up for? Carrying this weight, but you don't remember ever picking it up? We all inherit things from our families, right? But what about the invisible stuff, the patterns, the negativity that just seems to repeat generation after generation? Well, today we're going to dive into these endemic cycles and talk about how you can be the one to finally break them.
And it all starts with understanding one single really powerful word. Now, at first, it might not seem like it has anything to do with family dynamics, but trust me, it's the key that unlocks this entire concept. And that word is endemic. Now, usually we hear this word when we're talking about plants or animals that are totally unique to a specific place. Like a rare flower that only grows on one particular mountain. But it also means something is common to a particular area or field. And here's the twist. That area can be as small and as deeply personal as a family. Okay, so if these negative patterns are endemic to our families, why are they so dang hard to spot? Well, it's because the things that are closest to us, the things that are always there, often become completely invisible.
Just let that sink in for a second. When something is a constant in our lives, our brains eventually they filter it out. It becomes background noise. And that is the absolute core of the problem. That familiarity can make even the most damaging forces in our lives feel normal. And by feeling normal, they become invisible. So let me ask you, straight up, what's your background noise? What patterns or dynamics have been hanging around for so long that you've just stopped seeing them for what they really are? Seriously, just pausing to think about that's the first huge step. All right, so let's start connecting the dots. We've got this idea of something being endemic, and we have this idea of things becoming invisible. So what happens when we apply that to the concept of an unwanted inheritance? Something passed down that we would really rather not have. This metaphor is just perfect for it. In a normal relay race, the goal is to pass that baton smoothly, right? To help the team win. But in these cycles, what gets passed down isn't some sleek, efficient baton. No, it's a messy, tangled up ball of string. And each generation gets handed this knotted mess and is just expected to keep on running. And that's a totally fair question. If this tangled string is so difficult to run with, why does each person just pass it on to the next? The answer is, well, it's complicated. And understanding it really requires a bit of empathy. This right here, this gets to the human part of the cycle. I mean, think about it. A parent who had a really tough childhood might pass on negativity simply because, in a really strange way, that's their version of normal. It's what feels familiar to them. But here's the crucial point, the thing we have to remember. It is almost never purposeful. People aren't villains passing down some family curse. They're usually just runners who were handed their own tangled string and never even knew they had another choice. But here is the most important part of this whole explainer. You do have another choice. The cycle can absolutely be broken. So let's talk about how. This is a massive shift in perspective. You can't go back in time and untangle the string for the people who came before you. The goal isn't to fix the past. The first and most powerful step is to simply see what you are holding in your own hands right here, right now. So here's the path forward. It all starts with recognition. Just seeing those invisible patterns for what they are. Then you begin to understand their oddity, realizing that just because something is familiar doesn't mean it's normal or healthy. And from there, you get to choose not to carry it forward. And then finally, you can actually gain experience from it and use that new understanding to build a much better future. This really gets at the power that we have. Recognition is like turning on the stadium lights in the middle of the race. All of a sudden, you're not just running with some vague burden. You can see the tangled string clear as day. And once you see it, that's when you're empowered to make a new decision, to stop running with it. And this brings us to our final thought. What are the tangled strings that have been passed to you? And more importantly, what would your life and the lives of those who come after you look like if you were the one to finally, gently set them down?